Welcome to the football show on PLZ Soccer's. Hit that subscribe button and you can join the football family. I'm Peter Martin, Scott Allen, Alison McConnell and Tam McManus are here with me today. The big Oz has pulled out, sends his best wishes.
Is he won the clean sheet trophy last night? I've seen Livingston celebrating a draw.
I know, I've seen that.
But Gowser don't have that on his Instagram now, like a clean sheet.
They actually retweeted it, captioned it.
Yeah, he said, I'll leave you, can't make it today, I'll leave you in the capable hands of Mr. Tactician, keep the high balls low and spread out in bunches.
Celtic Hearts, top of the league.
Yeah,
The league.
yeah, it's going well.
Going really well, yeah. Obviously, that was a difficult fixture. Away to Queen of the South, who were top previous to the game, but to go down and obviously win in that fashion, so it's a big statement for ourselves.
And will you be able to get back into that side? Because I noticed the old
Cast off.
the cast off.
I think I'm maybe 2 or 3 weeks away yet, so obviously back into training. Strap up, do the Benzema and see how I get on.
Yeah, do the. We've been arguing non-stop about midfielders. What do you like to see in a midfielder, by the way? What's your idea of the perfect
Goal
midfielder?
scoring midfielder. I like goal scoring midfielder. I always liked Steven Gerrard, Frank Lampard, guys that could get by the striker and score.
Yeah.
What about playing with? Even that too?
I'm probably Russell Latapy type.
Yeah.
It's going to create you the
Aye,
chances.
that's it, aye. If I'm a striker, I want somebody that can slip the ball through to me like Latapy.
Yeah. Your man.
So he's got both. So he's like a kind of hybrid of both. So
Yeah.
that means,
And of course,
that means that's why Celtic are top.
yeah, the reason I mentioned that as well, before we get into the meat and bones of what we're going to talk about today, Ali, is quite simply one of the greatest midfielders of the last 20 years. Hung up his boots, had a press conference in Barcelona at 40 years of age. Iniesta was really emotional, actually, just saying, he didn't see this day coming, but now that it's here, he'd just like to thank everybody on the journey. And what a journey it's been, because World Cup, 2 European Championships, scored the winner in the 2010 World Cup, and you could pick 1,000,001 great passes and 1,000,001 memorable moments in his career.
Just integral to that really celebrated Barcelona team too. I think just an outstanding football player. I think just so graceful and elegant, like all great practitioners of his art. He makes it look easy.
Yeah, he was magnificent, wasn't he? I mean, that three of Iniesta, Xavi and Busquets was just outrageous.
Yeah, well, we're obviously talking about football and how that Pep Guardiola team kind of changed football for a while. They came up against, I remember Bayern Munich putting everybody above 6 foot out against them. They didn't see the ball. That's how good they were. They just had answers for every sort of opponent. But the one that sticks out for me is the last minute goal against Chelsea. Do you remember that in the semi-final?
It was a belter, wasn't it?
Top off, and Drogba was calling everybody cheats. I remember sitting in the house watching that, and obviously the goal in the World Cup final. I think I seen something on X saying that he'd man of the match in like six finals that he'd played in. So it just goes to show you how good he really was.
Yeah, and another thing that he used to do, Tam, which I think if you are part of the Barcelona backroom team, who's working in the background, making sure that the stadium and the tour and everything is all ship shape, when they actually get to the point where they say, look, Iniesta's leaving, we want you to get all the trophies out that he's won, because that's a big thing that they do in Spain, which they don't do here, is they get all the trophies that you've won and you get your photograph taken on the pitch. Yeah. And if you think about the trophies that Iniesta has won, your Copa del Rey, the actual, the league itself, and then of course the Champions League, and then the European Championships and the World.
They got them out in the pitch for
They get them all out in the pitch, and you get your photograph taken, which is magnificent.
Just been a wee Polaroid if it was me.
Yeah. Well, what they would have done there is just a little Polaroid of you leaving with your bag as the administrator comes in. So, no, I mean, absolutely magnificent. Is he? You know how we always get caught up in, the great players, and we're picking our world 11, and you've got guys like Cruyff and Messi and Zidane.
I think that's the best midfield that I've ever seen.
That's the best team I've seen.
Xavi, Iniesta, Busquets is the best midfield three that I've ever seen. There's no one better for me. I'm not talking about individual players, I'm talking about as a midfield, those three. Busquets just sitting in the two in front of them. It's ridiculous. Best
Yeah.
best three I've
I
seen.
mean, there was a moment, I don't know if you've seen the footage, Scott, where they're actually playing against Madrid in El Clasico, and they just keep bump, you know, in a triangle. It was just magnificent to watch.
But that was them every week at that time, when you were kind of glued to the TV every time a game was on TV. So for me, the best football team I've seen.
Yeah.
No question.
Ali, is there any, you know, when somebody comes out with a statement like that, I try and counter it by offering...
You've got a bit more experience than me in terms of...
Yeah, but I'm trying to...
For me, that was ridiculous what they'd done to some big teams at the time.
Yeah, I mean, I saw them, I was at the Champions League final in Rome, and I saw them dismantle Manchester United, and Messi scored with a header of all things, but I was trying to think of another team, Milan of the late 80s, you know, with the three Dutch players, Rijkaard, Hullet and Van Basten was special.
That was a front three.
They were fantastic because they had a really good team. Maldini, Baresi, Ancelotti was in that side as well. So they were a really good side. But there was two Barcelona sides that I think were special. And then prior to what I would call the Galacticos, who really didn't win anything. I mean, Beckham actually ended up winning one title there, but the one that was together when they won the European Cup at Hampden was Zidane's goal, and Carlos was in it, and Raul. They were a good side, but I can't argue with you. I mean, actually here, Mark says Iniesta, for a genuine world-class player, was always slightly underrated because of the generational talents he played with and made better. I mean, it's a good point. You know, you're looking, you're saying, who could contest it? And I can't think of many. I don't even think Man City come close.
To that team?
To that team?
No.
That's the best team I've seen. Best midfield three, and you've got Messi just sitting in front of them.
I'm still taking Zidane though, over Iniesta.
Yeah, absolutely.
Would you take Zidane over Iniesta?
Yeah. I mean, it's a hard call, isn't it? Yeah.
Good call.
Yeah. It takes Zidane over Messi. Messi's a goat.
But the thing about it is, these players now, when you're picking your World 11, it changes all the time. I mean, I had a World 11 that I could write. One of them was absolutely suspect, right? And I take it in the neck.
That with Kenny Dalglish.
No, but I couldn't even get Dalglish in the World 11. That's how can you not get your hero in the World 11? I should have jimmied him in. But the problem is, I've got 11 that I picked since day dot. And then as Messi and Ronaldo started to batter in records, I had to keep changing them. I never changed my right back. I just kept them, and I thought, people are just going to leather me, but I don't care, you know. So I've always had...
Who did you swap for Messi and Ronaldo?
Who did I...
Your World 11, if you put them in.
Well, I always had
Pele.
I always had Schmeichel in goal. Always had Danny McGrain at right back.
Of the world 11.
Well, Danny McGrain was voted the best right back in the world in 1974.
World 11.
Yeah, to
Cafu.
hell with Cafu. And Danny McGrain's partner was better than Cafu's. And then I had, you know, Beckenbauer, Baresi, Maldini. And then I had, just in front of them, Cruyff, Pele, Maradona. Cruyff could play anywhere. Cruyff, Pele, Maradona, Messi. And then the front two was Gerd Müller and Van Basten.
Oh, you had Müller in it?
Gerd Müller, have you seen Gerd Müller's Have you seen Gerd Müller's goal scoring?
I know you were going to say that.
It's just outrageous.
No, but
he's just unbelievable. So I had to move a couple of people out. I had to take Van Basten.
Put Müller beside Rice.
Hey? No, I'm not giving you that. We're too early for you to start all that crap, by the way.
Grown up.
Yeah.
I would take Maradona over Messi as well.
Would you? Oh, this is a great batter. Honestly, we should do a full programme with you.
Messi, man.
Maradona, the videos of Maradona playing in the pitches, that's off the scale.
Yes, absolutely. Do you want me to tell you, we can tell when there's a...
What's that?
He's not in drugs when he was playing.
Even more so.
His performance was surely enhanced
Yeah.
by cocaine.
I'm not sure actually. Do you know? See, in 1990 when he 94 when he screams into the camera,
World Cup,
I actually thought to myself, if he's doing cocaine, how does that enhance? How does that enhance the fact that he's unbelievably skillful? I was trying to work out. Does it make him run faster? You know, does he start to see things with a real clarity? I'm not quite sure. I don't want to ask you to in case you actually, stick yourselves in. Yeah, absolutely. It's going to bar you for that. You're a disgrace. Anyway. Lots of people say Maradona, best ever, hands down. And, you know, listen, you're right. You can always tell a great player or a great team when they force you to watch football at a time when you wouldn't normally. And on a Saturday morning, you would get up and you'd have to watch Golazzo.
Gazzetta Football Italia.
Football Italia.
Sunday morning, no?
It was Sunday morning.
No, but Channel 4. And you had to get up and watch it because Gaza was playing or Maradona was playing originally. That's when you knew.
Was that on when Maradona?
Aye.
Yeah, it was
I kind
fantastic.
of remember that, like with the Fiorentina strip with the Nintendo.
Aye.
Attached to Rui Costa. That's when I kind of first remember watching it.
Absolutely fantastic. And I always like to read out messages. You've got to read some.
Read Neil out.
Yeah, Neil Mellor is just sent us a message. He was a good player actually. For Liverpool.
Yeah.
Don't tell me who it was against.
A volley, wasn't it?
It was an absolute belter, wasn't it? And then he I think he ended up playing for Preston.
Olympiacos.
Neil Mellor, yeah. But listen, if you get the chance to walk out at Anfield and say you've played for Liverpool, Ali, does it get any better, you know?
Indeed.
Yeah, it's Neil Mellor says, Peter, can I just check in on you? Have you gotten over your pal Nazy getting the sack and you've had a petted lip for a wee while now? Neil, we've got to thank you for that. I'll tell you one thing, I'd hate to not have people that you get on with in football. Do you think you're compromised, Ali, if you like someone in football? Do you think it compromises you when you suddenly have to, as we were all in here, be critical of the fact that results are killing them?
I think it is difficult if you're too friendly with people. I do think it's hard. I think if your relationship starts to become quite a personal relationship, I think it is hard.
Yeah?
I don't think, in a journalistic sense, I don't think you can get too friendly with people at times.
It's interesting because, I'm going to give you a perfect example, Sutty hated the press. Never went to a press conference, absolutely hated the media. You know, I mean, the hypocrisy knows no bounds now.
Quite a few that fall into.
Yeah, but he actually, the great thing about Chris Sutton and Nacho Novo is when I phoned them to launch PLZ Soccer, the two of them just went, you just tell us where you want us to be. They were just there 12 years ago, boom, in the car.
It was a signing on fee.
I was going to say, well, did the brown envelope help?
To his credit, Chris Sutton took nothing. Neither did Nacho. Two of them. I met Nacho. I was with Nacho on Saturday night at a function for Drumchapel United, and he just walked up, and it was like rolling back the years. You know, it's nice when you get people that I think you build things up on trust, but sometimes you fall out with people because you offer an opinion and they don't like it. And that's where the difficulty, I think Alison's right. Sometimes you get to a situation you think,
it's very difficult.
It is tough.
It's quite hard. You have to have I think you have to have quite a professional line, just because your judgment can't really be affected by knowing that you like someone.
Yeah.
You know that you've got a really good relationship. If you're going to have to sit and say, well, it's not working for a manager, or it's just maybe time to go, I think it can be quite hard.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially if you call it. I mean, I think even for players. I mean, are you in a situation where you've said something about a player, or even some of your pals over the last couple of years have been managers, and you know, I mean, Stephen Glass, perfect example. Where eventually you're here and you've got to be painful and say he's got to go.
I'm good friends with Steve, and I spoke to him all the way through the process of getting the Aberdeen job and coming over. I met him when I was over in Florida. I met him at the game. He got me tickets. It was his team against Neil Collins' team, actually, Tampa Bay. And then Stephen got the Aberdeen job. Really, really wanted him to do well, and he didn't do particularly well. And I'm on this show and we're speaking about Aberdeen, and I haven't to be critical, and I'm just thinking, I don't think Glass's seen it, thankfully, but I think if he's seen it, he'd have been like that. It's a bit snide.
It's not personal. You're not being personal. You're offering a criticism of someone and the job that they're doing. However, you can imagine it's really difficult not to take it personally. Like
Oh, I
if
think
people are
you
saying,
would.
well,
I
we're
think you would.
you know, we've got a friendship that goes deeper than the superficials. You'll know my position, how difficult that is, but I do think it compromises you.
Yeah. How did you handle criticism?
I just genuinely felt that it became part of football.
Yeah.
But I had it from the get-go though, just with Dundee United, so it was, I didn't know anything else.
Yeah, but how did you handle the personal criticism if it came from a journalist or it?
It didn't really bother me, to be honest.
No.
Genuinely, I can say it didn't really affect me.
You?
Remember Robert Grieve, Kife's son? Remember, I played for Hibs. I had a stinker. Now they used to, I don't know if I still do them. I don't really still do the ratings in the paper. So anyway, I think we could beat 2-1 on the Monday morning. We always used to look for just get by the paper. And
Ratings cause
players,
more,
the
more
players
grief
used
than anything.
mental.
I think my mum still get ratings up in a fridge.
Aye. And Robert Grieve said, looked out his, I don't know, a young boy now coming through, and it was just poor game, looked out his depth, not ready for this level, or just something like that.
Did you agree with it?
I don't think the
no.
fact he still remembers it.
So,
25
I know,
Let
aye.
it go, will you?
And I remember bumping into him years and years later at one of the sports writers' days, and I said to him, he's like, I can't remember writing that. I says, I can remember, I got it framed. Because all the boys were going, everybody would read it in the dressing room.
It's funny you saying that. I'm just going to read
People
it
would
here.
take it, you're right, players would take it badly.
Really did. Whereas for us,
It's even watching the game, I played well.
that's a kind of it's another thing to do. You know, you're doing it quickly. There's not a massive amount of time.
Well, for
goes in
scores
it.
at the Stars.
For
The ratings.
it's
You've
just
not-
like
you've not
done.
analysed
Where
it
it's
Aye.
not, exactly.
No, absolutely.
Whereas the effect it had.
It did,
most
aye.
grief I ever had when I was in newspapers and writing stuff was over ratings, rather than sometimes writing match reports and critiquing people or maybe writing a column and criticising people. The most blowback I ever had was over ratings.
No player read the match report, they're just looking at the number.
Would they get in the paper? 6 out of 10.
And honestly, sometimes it is just God, I've not done the ratings yet. Like,
Yeah. Brian says Peter only gets a petted lip when he faces criticism. Brian, I'd have a petted lip every day of the week. I get pelters every day. But I have to say, just on that point, when you were talking about the overall, how the press can criticise you or tag you or whatever, and then you hold a grudge. I ended up watching on Netflix last night the Andrew McCarthy documentary on the Brat Pack. Which is basically a movie star who was part of a group of people like Demi
all
Moore.
the John Hughes movies.
Yeah, all the John Hughes movies, Demi Moore, Rob Lowe, all this group. And because they were making movies together regularly, they called them the Brat Pack.
They're all like teen movies.
They were all,
Breakfast Club and 16 Candles.
yeah, when we were
and Ferris Bueller's
Pretty in
Day Off.
Pink, we were all growing up, they called them the Brat Pack, and it was going through how they felt about being labelled the Brat Pack. Was it detrimental to their career moving on, or was it something you just had to deal with and then try and move on in your career and not let it hang around your neck? And it's interesting how, it's like I give you in a footballing sense the Spice Boys.
Yeah.
Liverpool guys just hated that whole. They looked at it the early time when the Spice Girls were there and Mick Manaman and Jamie Redknapp and that, and then when you don't win, it becomes a noose around your neck. It becomes that ultimate. You're
There's
just
an element of that at Hibs as well, wasn't there?
We were Christians, that remember Neil Lennon said that about us.
Yeah. Oh, that was Neil Lennon's
So it was
press
Scott,
conference.
me,
when he
aye,
went
it was
in
Kevin
as well.
Thompson, Scott Brown, me, Gary O'Connor, Derek Riordan. We had stupid
Bleached hair
haircuts,
and-
like bleached hair with Mohicans and all that. Just looked stupid. And we get called the Spice Boys, aye.
Yeah. Okay. Lots to talk about. Always good to get a wee natter and things like that and get pelters from people early on. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button while you're absolutely battering us. Steve Clark on call-offs for Scotland. Of course, we'll analyse that squad. Celtic opt out of a Premier Sports deal that could have been worth 75 grand. Was it lowballing it? Was it one of those situations where Celtic were right? Can Hearts reverse this slump? And I thought we'd finish off the programme with, can you name the best 11 right now in the Scottish Premiership? The 11 players...
Based on form.
Based
Current
on form, not on who's the best player in that. It's based on form so far.
Current form.
We've had a wee ding-dong already.
It's difficult that, but
We'll have a go at
see
it.
what we can get. Aye.
See if we can get 11, Tam. Get your head.
Well, the Aberdeen team's in the Scotland team now. There'll be a lot of Aberdeen players.
Well, Kenny watches it from LA, and there's
There's a bit in and all,
there's
Devon.
a few people will be hanging on our every word, wondering if we're going to put any Aberdeen players in it, wondering if we're going to put any Rangers players in it. So if you can think of a Rangers player that's in this current 11 that we're going to come up with, then only time will tell. Let's have a look. There's a competition talking about Aberdeen. Great chance for you to win something.
Here at PLZ Soccer, we're giving away this Aberdeen away strip. All you've got to do is leave the answer to this question in the comment section below. What was the last year Aberdeen won the Premier League title? Good luck.
Yeah, good luck with that. And I'll tell you something else, Ali, which is absolutely enjoyable. Tomorrow's Journos, which has David McCarthy, who worked for the Daily Record as a journalist, Hugh McDonald and Ali. And we were discussing the best team over the last 40 years. Which team can lay claim
In Scotland?
in Scotland since about 1975 onwards? Forget the Lisbon Lions or the Barcelona Bears. Which team over the last 40 years can lay claim to being the best team in Scotland? So it was a good watch.
So I've got two in my head. The Rangers team that got to the semi-finalist Champions League, or they got robbed for Marseille.
Marseille,
That team.
That was the first.
Gascoigne, Loudrop, Gough, they got to that. Or the Celtic team that got to Seville.
Right, okay. So
Is it
that's your
two?
shot on it.
Is it two I can think of?
Gascoigne and that weren't in that team.
I know, but I just thought I'd leave him.
Nah, it wasn't Gascoigne. That was before that, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was before that. It was
4 years out there, Tom.
Yeah.
Hateley, McCoist.
Yeah.
Hateley, McCoist, McCall, Durant.
McCall.
So he's given two. Who do you think's going to be in that equation?
In terms of best, most attractive, for me, I would say
Hibs 2016
Hibs
Scottish Cup.
2016 Scottish Cup. I would say Rangers 1999 and Celtic Postecoglou second.
Oh, is that right? Oh, that's interesting. That's a great shout from you. That's interesting, isn't it, Ali? You
It
raised,
didn't even fit.
no, it didn't register
feature
at all.
on
Wasn't
our
even in
radar
the
at all.
wasn't even in the top 8.
Really?
Yeah, not in any capacity. It's a great show. I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed making it.
Martin O'Neill, Strachan,
With-
Lennon, Venglos, or Angie's team for Ali, Celtic.
No. It's actually, you'll never believe it. We've picked, what we did was, we picked what we thought was the best teams in that last 40 years.
I bet it's Aberdeen. Did you take Aberdeen?
And then there's
Is it?
And then
83?
there's a team. Once you pick the team and you look at the players, try not to blow it out of the water of the programme. And then once you pick the team, you then, once we got it down to it, we picked.
That's before your time, really.
No, there's teams that you played in, the teams that you've watched or you might have played against, and then what we did is we picked a semi-final and then a final where two teams would, if they were playing against each other, who would win. So it's a good watch. I mean, you should watch it actually. You'll enjoy it.
How long's it on for an hour?
Yeah.
Get a miss.
Yeah, absolutely. That's good. Surprise, you're here for an hour. Anyway, so with that,
That'll be good. So that's one tomorrow, Peter.
Yep, it's well worth it if you get a chance on our YouTube channel. Okay, Croatia versus Scotland, Scotland versus Portugal. Our man Blair Malloy was out there at Hampden today.
Scotland take on Croatia and Portugal this week, and forward Ben Doak has addressed the media ahead of those two crucial Nations League clashes. The 18-year-old captured the attention of the nation this summer when he was called into Steve Clarke's Euro 2024 squad before unfortunately missing out through injury. However, the 18-year-old says he doesn't pay too much attention to all the hype around about him.
Only with like my family and like my mates and that. Like I try and not really look at that stuff because like it's all well and good when you've got all the hype and everyone's bigging you up, but it can be the same people that are smacking you down when you don't play well, so I don't take notice to the negatives or the positives.
Doak has been catching the eye for Middlesbrough this season, on loan from Liverpool, whom he joined from Celtic as a 16-year-old. However, Doak today admitted that when he made the move south, the Scotland national team wasn't at the forefront of his mind.
I wasn't really thinking about playing with Scotland at that point, to be honest. I felt like that was the right move for me at the time, to go down south and go and play and train at an elite level. Everyone knows how good that Liverpool squad has been and how they are doing currently, the top of the league. And so I didn't see any cons to going there.
As Steve Clarke's injury list grows longer, with Lawrence Shankland today pulling out, will we see the young forward in action for these two upcoming games? It's Scotland versus Croatia this Saturday.
Yeah, that's one of the games out there in Croatia, and then back at Hampden for Scotland against Portugal. 1 win in 14, Ali. My God, it could be 1 win in 16.
Yeah, it's fair. It's a tough couple of games now, away to Croatia and then at home to Portugal on Tuesday night at Hampden. Yeah, I don't know that I don't know that I can see Scotland taking anything from either game. I have to be honest. And then I think, that start and how long it's gone for, it just becomes increasingly difficult to protect, and it becomes a question that you have to keep asking. You have to keep going back and saying,
is it better though? Is there an excuse that he's playing in the A League of the Nations League now? You're not playing any duff teams.
I'm not sure if it's an excuse, but it's certainly understandable. You can understand why it's so tough and so challenging to try and take anything from these teams. But I think just given the atmosphere around Scotland on the back of a really limp European Championships campaign and the form running into that wasn't great, I think it just adds to the pressure, it just adds to the weight around the manager.
I think now we're in a mode. I'm not sure I'm speaking for all of the Tartan Army, but I think we're in a mode right now of we're just going to suck it up. Steve Clarke's there. Nobody's calling for his head. He's got 2 years left in the deal, and the deal in the remit is get us to the World Cup.
Yeah, I think Ali touches on terms of being in that A group. You are up against some top European opposition, guys like Modric, who have obviously been about the game for a long time at a high level. So it is difficult to go there, especially with the amount of injuries we've got as well, and call-offs and guys coming in. I think looking at the Euros, really disappointing. I think we all kind of agree on that, even the coaching staff and the players. But I thought there was a lot more positivity about it after the Poland game. I'm sure it was that they looked as if they were playing a better kind of brand of football, and we get a wee bit excited again, but we're just not managing to pick up the win. So these next two games, very difficult to pick up anything, but it's a chance for guys like Ben Doak and obviously Nisbet coming back into the squad to try and cement their place in the team and move forward after these difficult fixtures.
Well, I'll throw this at you, Tam. I think we've got a problem in the goalkeeping area, whereas we used to be rich with great goalkeepers. We've got Craig Gordon back, John McCracken, Robbie McCrory, Angus Gunn picked up an injury, and you've got Zander Clark, who I think is a good goalkeeper, but it's not quite the standard of the three we had before Marshall, McGregor and Gordon all vying for it. And I think as we move forward, I mean, Gordon's in at the moment. I expect him to be in for both games.
Yeah, I think he will be, yeah. I think that Angus Gunn obviously thought he did a good game against Portugal. He's going to be a miss. I think we're missing key players, Peter. The squad looks kind of flimsy, looks weak for me.
Is Angus Gunn number one material, rock solid for you?
No, I think he's the best that we've got, Peter. I think he's the best keeper. And you're right, we had 3 top keepers fighting for one space at one time with Alan McGregor, Craig Gordon, David Marshall. It was a real golden spell for us for goalkeepers. Even before that with Jim Leighton, Andy Gorham, guys like that. I think the goalkeeping department we are light. I think defensively we're light. I think Kieran Tierney's a miss. I think that Scott McKenna's a miss. Jack Henry's a miss. For me, there's 3 guys that could probably play. Then your right backs you're talking about. You're talking, Patterson and Hickey. Porteous. I wouldn't inspire me. It wouldn't inspire me with confidence playing against Croatia and Portugal. I mean, I know they're decent, but I'm not sure Porteous has been playing at Watford. But yeah, even in the middle of the park, we're missing John McGinn, which is a huge miss for us as well. So, no, I think our squad, it doesn't look the strongest, to be honest.
I hate to be a killjoy here, but John McGinn hasn't been really on the top form of the last. He had a poor European Championships.
Everybody had a poor European Championship.
Yeah, but you're talking about big players that you want to go
I think he looked
and do something.
I thought he looked shattered at the European
Everybody
Championship.
looked shattered at the European
I thought there was an argument to say that. I thought it was actually maybe an argument for saying, look, there's too many games. Like, you're getting people when you go into a tournament like that, and it felt flat.
Yeah, but top players, that's the demands now, Ali. You can't just say for Scotland they all look knackered.
I know, but for us to get something for a game, we need everybody on it, not just John McGinn playing well. You need kind of team chemistry.
But I do think you need big players that you were looking to somehow inspire. I didn't think he had a great championships, and absolutely. Well, look at the back line. Devlin, Hanley, Lindsay from Preston, obviously. Mackenzie, Porteous, Ralston, Robertson and Suter. And then you've got Christie, Doak, Forrest, Gold, Irving, McLean, McTominay and Morgan. Adams, Dykes and now Shankland is out and Nesbitt's in.
As I said to you, Peter, we seem to be lacking in that squad. We've got a few call-offs and we're going against two quality outfits. And I agree. Yeah, I don't see us getting anything out of these games. I think we'll lose both games. And I don't mean to be a killjoy for Scotland, but I think that bad run's going to continue.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you share that view?
We go 5-4-1.
Yeah.
Just play all the defenders in
with all due respect, can I just highlight to you, Mr. Tactical Genius, Ross County. The disparity between Ross County and Celtic is far greater than the disparity between Dortmund. Yeah, of course. Yeah, the Dortmund and Celtic, the spending power, and then of course the spending power. But I would say to you, and I'll stick by it all through this year. Great managers change depending on the fight that they face with the team and the team that the opponents are playing.
I've got nothing to say until after the Atalanta game.
You're waiting. You're waiting to see if he's going to play the same way, aren't you? Alison thinks it's a stick on.
He plays the exact same way.
Absolutely.
I think it's a stick on as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do you think it's a
And
stick
I
on?
think the scoreline will be similar.
Yep. I think they'll get pumped again.
I don't.
Yeah.
I don't think they get pumped again.
You don't.
No.
You think?
Oh, define what would that look like?
3 or above.
3 and above?
3 and above. 3 and above.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you?
We'll just hold off. We'll just hold off till the game plays out.
I think if Celtic play the same way, they'll lose 3-4-0.
I would agree. I think they were far too open.
Yeah, and that's why Steve Clarke in this one, I think, will revert back to what. And again, this is the thing. I've been getting it in the neck from social media and people going, well, you can't have it one way. You're claiming 1 minute, you're saying Steve Clarke, sits in and doesn't come out and attack, and then Brendan Rodgers does it. There is a different argument for the way that Steve Clarke has to approach the European Championships. Sitting in the stadium against Germany, I did like exactly the same mode that we are in with Celtic and Rangers possibly against Lyon. I did not go into the stadium thinking Scotland are going to beat Germany. I didn't think that. All I thought was that we would have a performance where there might be the odd chance here and there, and there was a bit of positivity about the way he went about it. It was competition football. 3 games, 2 of them, realistically, you have a chance. So when he gets to the Switzerland with 15, 20 minutes to go, you're thinking, this is competition football. Get somebody on that can take the game to Switzerland. We could have won it. And then Hungary's just a nightmare. So, and now we've got an away game against Croatia where I think, he's joking about it, but I think Steve Clarke will look at it and say, we'll play the same way again. We'll sit in and we'll wait and see if we can pick our moment. Portugal for me, if they go toe-to-toe with them at Hampden trying to, go tiki-taka, I think they get battered. I think they'll lose.
I think you need to. I think when you're playing Croatia away, you need ball carriers and pace in the forward areas that can get you up the park and out.
Yeah.
So Ben Doak could be one for me. That could be the wild card for me. Play him. He's been playing.
Not exactly the saviour though, but we're clinging on to the Ben Doak.
Somebody that's player we've seen a while in a Scotland just with like real pace.
And
there's also a bit of excitement about him.
Yeah.
I think
he gets you up the pitch.
Do you know what he's also got, which I love? He's got skill. I love players who can square somebody up and beat them with a bit of skill, either foot.
We were crying out for it in the championships. We've now got a young player who's obviously come through the academy system at Celtic. He's now playing the championship, so he's got experience. He's been around players at Liverpool. You think he's ready to go and play one of these games for us, and let's see what he does. I think that having that real pace gives you a completely different option, which we haven't had. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's have the news.
Hello, I'm Cara and here are your daily news headlines on Wednesday 9th of October, sponsored by Arnold Clark. Steve Clarke makes it 3 call-ups from the Aberdeen squad as Kevin Nisbet comes in to replace Lawrence Shankland. It is reported that Rangers are set to have yet another high-level departure as Football Operations Director Craig Robertson looks set to leave his role to pursue other opportunities. Tottenham and England striker Dominic Solanke said it's a great feeling to be back in the England squad after a 7-year absence.
Yeah, it means so much. Worked very hard to get back to this moment. Obviously, I made my debut a long time ago now, so yeah, it's been quite a journey. But yeah, to get back here it's a great feeling for me and the family.
Finally, Hearts are closing in on their rumoured investment deal with Tony Bloom, and their chief executive, Andrew McKinley, said it would be great for Scottish football if Hearts can manage to close that gap to Celtic and Rangers. Those were your daily news headlines on Wednesday, 9th of October, sponsored by Arnold Clark. For more exclusive content, please be sure to download our app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Yeah, thank you very much to Cara. Great line there, from Andrew McKinley. I think the immediate thing that Hearts are looking to do is try and close the gap on St Johnstone. Never mind anything else. I'm sorry to be so blunt about it.
I did cross my mind when I heard this. What?
So it's win a game first. That is the predicament that Hearts find themselves in. But interestingly enough, the one thing that investment is the key to it all. And I think a number of clubs in Scotland are going to have to look towards individuals. I love the fact that Hearts have a really successful foundation of Hearts. Motherwell, again, simple backing with the fans helps that club. They knocked back the opportunity to bring a major investment into Fir Park. For whatever reason, they didn't feel as if the mechanics of it were right. But Hearts have a dilemma coming up where Tony Bloom, there will be investment, and then everybody's obsessed by this Jamestown analytics and whether this is going to transform the way Hearts go about their business. I think that's why there's a delay in calling out the manager as well, because they're waiting to try and look at the stats and analyse who is the perfect person to implement the strategy that we are about to direct towards Hearts as a football club.
It's interesting. I think interviews started last week, and the fact that you've not had too many names leak out into the public domain, I think, is quite interesting. I think it's a hugely important appointment. I think it has a potential to be exciting. I think it's something fairly innovative that we've not seen here before. We see obviously examples of it down at Brighton. We've not seen it here. I think it has a potential to work very well for Hearts.
Let's ask Scoop who's going to be the new manager. Come on, Scoop, tell us, who's the new manager of Hearts?
Genuinely not a clue. Not even heard a snippet of anybody.
It's unusual. Once interviews start, you tend to start hearing whispers or people say what it's like in football. People talk, and
but who conducts the interviews? Is it Anne Budge? Is it Andrew McKinley? Is it Tony Bloom conducting them and then advising them? This is the type of person we want to implement the way these analytics play out. Do you follow me? It's easy to go to a hotel in London and sit down with somebody who's a foreign manager and say, listen, I want to talk to you. I'm based in Brighton, but I can sit and have a discussion, in Park Lane with you about the Hearts job. So I'm not surprised that nothing's come out. And when Andrew McKinley says the likelihood is it's not going to be a Scottish person, it's in lockdown somewhere else where they can go and interview these managers. Nobody would be able to join the dots.
Yeah, no, as I say, I think it will be done before the next game, but I think you look at league table, 8 games, 2 points, it's a dreadful start, probably one of the worst starts in Hearts history. So they need to get a manager in. I heard somebody speaking about the Bergen brand manager last night as a potential candidate. I think it's going to be somebody like that, maybe Norwegian League or Icelandic League or somewhere where someone's punching above their weight, not only domestically but in Europe in terms of getting the group stages and all that. So I think it'll be someone along those lines, but I think they'll get a manager in before the next game.
Yeah, and with that, suddenly, it's not a shoo-in that looking at the analytics immediately that things will turn around. This is going to be a long process where they'll eventually start to recruit players that fit into a system. And then, I mean, I noticed one of the write-ups today in the papers where they're talking about Brighton and all the players that they've managed to get through this process and then sold them on for, you know, huge amounts of money. I mean, I think one of the biggest ones was Moises Caicedo, 112 million. He's not a 112 million pound player at the moment, I have to tell you, but fair
Well, he
play
is if
to
that's what
Brighton.
they paid for him.
Yeah, fair play to Brighton. They banked the money. They don't care if he's a 112 million pound player or not. They're recruiting well. I wonder how the analytics at a lower level, you know, because Hearts are not going to pay 5 and 6 million for a player. So they're at that other level with the stats, and you're hoping to get key players that can, one that can get lots of crosses in, one that's got an engine that can defend and does exactly what it says on the tin. Do you follow me?
Yeah.
Because that's what it's all about.
Yeah, but I think it's still a process though. I think you need to come in and first and foremost you've got players there who are on contracts, and the manager coming in needs to get the most out of them because he can't really do anything in terms of how their analytics would work in terms of January because the transfer window's shut. So first and foremost they need to start winning games with what they've got. That's the difficulty for Hearts and what they bring in. Will he have that type of technique, man management, where he can get the best out of them, or will he need to wait till he gets a few windows, gets his own players in, along with the system that they've implemented to get the best results? So right now it's all about just winning games and doing it any way possible for Hearts.
Yeah, John says all this strategy nonsense. Here is a strategy: try and win more games than you lose. Simple. I think Hearts.
Only it was so easy.
Hearts would be happy just to try and win one game at the moment, the way they're playing. But listen, it's a job. It's going to be interesting to see. First and foremost, they need cash to do that. So if he comes in,
No, I think that every Hearts manager's backed. I think they've got a good budget there. Foundation of Hearts obviously pump money in. They've got European group stage football as well. They're going to make money from that. So I think there'll be money there to spend. And I think it's an attractive job for somebody to come in because you know if you finish third every season, you're guaranteed group stage football. You're going to make that money, and then that gives you the opportunity to try and get closer to the top two. But as we're talking about, you know, they're sitting at the foot of the table at the minute. You know, the priority's got to be trying to get up the table first before they can target the top two.
yeah, but it will be interesting to see who is appointed as the Hearts manager, and can you see them reverse the slump and go back up the table? I think it's inevitable for me, the way the league looks at the moment, that Hearts and Hibs will get a run at some point. You know, I'm not going to. David Gray clearly will be taking criticism in the early part of his tenure as manager, but I don't see Hearts and Hibs being in that bottom three much longer.
No, I don't think so. I think they will move away from it. However, what you would say is that there's a lot of damage being done already. I think third is gone for Hearts. I just cannot imagine that they'll make up the ground now on Aberdeen. So I think that's a significant bit of damage that's already been done. Hibs too, I think can, you know, they'll just be looking to get in and make top six, I think. But it's been poor. Obviously, we've spoken about Hearts. It's been desperately poor for Hibs. I think it's been incredibly inconsistent. I think lots of issues there that you've seen across recent seasons just haven't been addressed. I think, and the longer it goes, it is difficult to keep asking the same questions, to keep seeing the same frailties, and then to keep seeing the same mistakes. Inevitably, it just brings a certain kind of pressure on the manager.
Okay, we'll wait and see who they appoint. As it was the international break, we talked about Scotland there. I just wondered, you know, everybody's played 7 or 8 games in the Scottish Premiership so far, and I wondered if we could come up with, based on form, the best 11 players in the Scottish Premiership right now. And with that in mind, when I was putting the team together, I was wondering if there's a Rangers player in it. You know, I'm looking at where the teams are in their position and the way they're playing, and you think it's not necessarily the best players overall, it's the form that they've had, you know, up until that international break. Could you pick 11 players that you think are in there? So I'll give you the first option on this. This is the lineup that I've selected, and then we can argue it till the cows come home. Schmeichel or Butland. possible argument. Devlin or Alistair Johnson, Carter Vickers, Scales or Rubezic, Mackenzie, Nielsen, McGregor, Kuhn, Miller, Maeda and Papagay. And I know Gay's picked up an injury, but in that first 7 or 8 games, he's the top scorer in the division. So, of that 11, throw me an argument, Ali.
I think Schmeichel is probably edged Butland. I think I'd be tempted to go for Kasper Schmeichel. I think right back, I think Alistair Johnson might just be in ahead of Nicky Devlin.
Yeah, okay. So that's your main concern. Scott, for you, I mean, it's an 11 where, you know, Nicky Devlin has managed to force his way into the Scotland side, scored a big goal in their win against Hearts, 30 years of age. I'm just throwing you out. Is he worthy of that?
Yeah, I think he's obviously had a good season and he's obviously topped off with getting the cap. I think Johnson's been excellent for Celtic, especially domestically. For me, Schmeichel obviously ahead of Butland. I think he's conceded 1 goal this season.
Yeah.
And domestically, taking away that Borussia Dortmund game.
And Falkirk.
And based on since the Celtic Rangers game, I think Suter arguably could be in there for me.
Yeah.
I think he's responded really well to that game, and Rangers always had on the back of the clean sheet, so maybe Suter in there for me, if any.
In place of Carter Vickers.
He's injured, isn't he?
Well, this is no, but
I'm not sure about Carter Vickers.
No, exactly. I think if you were one of the guys here says I'm a Celtic fan, but Cameron Carter Vickers hasn't been great this year. So is it a Suter is worth it? Is Suter?
Yeah, I think so.
Shout?
I think Suter. Yep.
Yeah, the only Rangers player, which is quite alarming. Not that this is definitive. We're all just shooting the breeze on it, but I look at
It's difficult.
Can I go for Barron? Connor Barron?
Yeah, I think Connor Barron would be one. And the boy Nielsen's done really well at Aberdeen. We don't really see Aberdeen every week. You probably see more of Barron.
Yeah.
Rubezic? Again, I don't see a lot of Aberdeen. They've not really been on the TV apart for your highlights and stuff. I think the wee boy Jeffty's been decent to Rangers as well.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah, have him ahead of Mackenzie.
I don't know. I said Jack Mackenzie's obviously playing well. So is Devlin in the Scotland squad.
Yeah.
But I think there's an argument for Jeffty maybe as well, left back. Nielsen, Connor Barron. I think the next 3 are stick-ons. I think Kuhn's been the best player in Scotland this season. I think he's been brilliant.
Yeah.
You know, Callum McGregor and
Lennon
Miller has been a superb young player. Guy and Maeda. Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's much argument with them, but I think defensively, midfield, maybe you could argue a couple.
What about you in the midfield? I mean, I've seen Aberdeen on a few occasions this season.
You like Nielsen, don't you?
Yeah. Well, here's my point on it. I like Nielsen because he's a no-nonsense midfielder. He's not what I would call my typical midfielder that I love to watch. But the one thing that he does really well is he organises. He's 33 years of age now, and what he does is he absolutely berates anybody who doesn't get back into position when they haven't got the ball. So he's constantly talking.
Him then.
Yeah, well, exactly. He's constantly talking, but you know what he does really well is he takes the pressure off the back line, Scott, which is something I thought you always did well, and the likes of Barry Ferguson did it to great effect, and so did Lennon or Lambert. They make it easy for the central defenders because they take the ball off them. They only have to make a 5-10 yard pass tops, and they give them angles, and he does that. And when he's going forward, Scott, the joy of it all is he gets forward by he makes those simple passes that other players complicate.
Yeah, like I said, the players are sometimes worth their weight in gold. So I think he'd probably, off the back of how well they've started the season and the win streak they've been on, I think he's earned his spot in there alongside Callum McGregor. Just two of them for me over Connor Barron at this moment in time anyway.
Yeah, and Lennon Miller.
He's affecting games, 50 games now at 18.
Yeah. Blair said he was in the game against Hibs, and he got the ball and hit a 70-yard pass right to the boy's toe, and he said it was quite funny because everybody in the press box went, Wow. You know, it's very rare you get journalists excited when somebody and the one thing I always, you know, when you think about, we were talking about Iniesta at the top end of the programme. I was down watching, this is a good few years ago, I was down watching Liverpool-Everton in an FA Cup match at Anfield, and the ball came out to the right-hand side, in effectively the right-back position.
You're about to compare Lennon Miller to Gerrard?
No, I'm not. I'm not comparing them. But Gerrard hit a volley, right? He hit a volley from the right-hand side of the park, and it was a volley pass, because he'd spotted somebody away out in the left-hand side, and he volleyed it like a missile, and it went right to the guy's toe. And you know, sometimes if you watch football at different levels, and I just looked and I went, he's just amazing. He's outrageous, you know. And the Everton fans obviously were shouting, you're going to jail in the morning. It was at a time where he got in a bit of trouble, but he was outstanding. He scored a goal in the game and absolutely drove them forward. But Lennon Miller, for a young guy, now we're starting to see him regularly playing. That's my point.
Yeah, 50 appearances for Miller. I think he's the go-to man in the team. He's demanding the ball. You can see with the experienced players as well, like they're happy to let him take that responsibility, and that's a sign of what I think is going to be a top player.
Yeah, and is Miller better than Bernardo, Hatate or Engels? Couldn't lace any of their boots, says one of our...
Tati's quite a poor start to the season.
It's within what we're...
Yeah.
Context, he's an 18-year-old Scottish player who's...
Had a really strong start to the season.
Yeah.
Who weren't...
It's only the start of 7 or 8 games, that's what I'm asking. Can you name an 11 that's worthy of it? If somebody thinks Paulo Bernardo...
I like your boy Keskinen at Aberdeen as well, the winger.
Do you?
Finnish guy. I think he's looks good. Pace.
Yeah. You're some man, by the way. You haven't seen Aberdeen, but now you've seen them. I don't think he's got the one thing about him is he doesn't have a trick for me. You know that?
He's all pace.
You know,
he doesn't have a trick. What would you want to see?
Like a step over.
Listen, if you've been brought up with guys like John Robertson at Nottingham Forest, I mean, I just love players who've got that. You know, they do something, and it's just... Mark Walters used to do it. Mark Walters used to do this.
Using your body,
he'd do a step over Mark Walters.
Faster than just run by them.
Well, absolutely. There are players like that who just run past. But Mark Walters used to do a step over, and every defender that I would interview said, we know he's going to do it. But when he does it, he just used to go by. He was past them, you know. Do you not like players like that, though? You know that when you give them the ball, you think he can get past them for skill. We didn't have any in the Scotland side going in European champ. We'd none.
No, we'd none.
We'd none.
No. But there's people don't really play with wingers now. They don't really play with an out-and-out winger just going to stand in the wing like a John Robertson and just give them the ball.
That's why I'm excited.
Or David Cooper, aye. And then if you lose it, just walk back.
I'm down. I think you've oversimplified David Cooper. I think that's why I'm excited to see Doak. I'm curious to see what he's going to do.
He's got a trick in him and he's got pace and he's a throwback to an old-fashioned winger. So, no, I'd like to see him playing in both, particularly the game away from home in Croatia, where we're going to be camped in Marha for a lot of the games.
And that you need that.
You need an out ball, you need to go get us up the park 50, 60 yards, go and win a throw-in or a foul or affect the game. We didn't have that in Portugal away. It was crying out for someone with that pace. Dykes is a good player, you know what you're going to get for Dykes, but he's not going to run behind. So Croatia, if he plays him up front, Croatia will just park themselves on the halfway line. If they've got Doak up there as well, they might go, you got to
Dykes, set back.
Yep, him to get through.
Third man run.
Yeah. Kenny Merchant, who's a big Aberdeen fan, says Peter Weir used to do it. Absolutely. Kenny, if I was you, I'd watch the journos tomorrow. I think you're really going to enjoy it. And Janice says Scotland need to park the bus. Yep. I think when you look at the squad that we have at our disposal, that is a stonewall certainty. Just one little footnote before we obviously say farewell today, Ali. I find it astonishing, or is it a good thing that we're suddenly we're looking forward to one of the biggest games in the season in Celtic Aberdeen. It's at 3 o'clock on a Saturday, which you can't have your cake and eat it. It's 3 o'clock on a Saturday, but so many people want to see it. So many people want to see it, and you're not going to see it unless you fly out to Rod Stewart's home in LA and watch it legally, or we all get a bus and head to East Kilbride to Tam's house.
I'll have a game.
Yeah. So other than that, you know, just a big giant queue, and then Tom taking tickets, and the wife's there just organising with the sandwiches. It's it's hard going, isn't it?
Yeah, I think I know you're talking about the TV deal, and
Yeah.
Celtic have, you know, they've opted out of it. Is it 75 grand a game? I think when you look at that, I think that a few people will be surprised at the figures involved, just how paltry the return
Well, it's paltry
is.
for them because they're trying to take advantage of it, that it's additional matches that haven't been picked up. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's paltry for them. They're clearly playing the business angle on this and saying, well, Premier Sports want to try and pick these matches up for as little as they can and make a profit. You can't fault them for that.
Can't fault who for that.
Premier Sports don't want to pay
I
top
think you could
drawer on
fault
it.
Celtic for it either, for saying, well,
Yeah.
hang on a minute.
No, I agree.
We want people through the door. We don't want to give it away for very little financial return and risk then not having people come into the ground and watch the game.
Yeah, big game too. Everybody will want to see it, won't they? Yeah. Huge.
I'll not be seeing it Saturday 3 o'clock. Doesn't work for me. Also the Kelty things, but yeah, I think.
Hold on a minute, dear Michael. Scott can't make that.
I think October's got a few fixtures that will really kind of define how some teams' seasons are going to be.
Yeah, but that one everybody wants to see it.
Yeah, but unfortunately,
Yeah,
if Celtic don't think that's worth it for them, they've got the right to do that.
yeah. Kind of a gutted in that one, are you?
I am, because I'd like to watch the game. But you know, Celtic supporters travel from all over the world, and they might have boats booked or flights booked, whatever it is. And your season ticket holders, I think for one, Celtic have actually looked after their interests of their own fans and says no, we're going to stick to 3 o'clock kick-off, and you know, our season ticket holders are going to be able to come and watch the game.
Yeah, absolutely. As ever, we always thank everybody for watching the programme on a regular basis. Thank you for subscribing as well. If you haven't yet hit the subscribe button, then by all means do that, please. And you'll see lots of unique video content, certainly breaking news stories, our journalists out at games, covering, of course, domestic and international football and European football too. So we hope that you are going to hit the subscribe button, download the app, and you'll get all of the breaking news at your fingertips, plus all our unique video content. And if you get a chance as well, we obviously try and take on the big guns. We don't have the same revenue, Scott, as the big guns, so we just have to be a little pinprick that annoys the life out of them as we build our audience to take over. Obviously, world domination is what we want, you know, as we move forward, which is why we brought you in as an early pundit. Do you think he'll be here 6 years' time?
I think he's a bit of a mercenary. I think he'll go elsewhere.
That's brilliant. He's already
You
saying.
find out about Gouser, is it right?
Yeah, well, I was just about to say, I know. I was already saying to him, he's signalled Ruffy's demise, Ali. He just said to him on Monday, by the way, we're just phasing you out. So, if anything, McManus is absolutely ruthless. The reason I'm mentioning it is, have a listen to that. By the way, when we stick Ruffy in front of a camera and ask him to read something, if it's longer than a sentence, it's absolutely outrageous, isn't it? I mean, he just toils. But I think this is one of his better ones. If you can click the link and get onto our Kickstarter project, then we'd be really delighted if you can support us in any way. Here's Ruffy to tell you.
Hi, it's Ruffy here. If you would like to help PLZ soccer team in our new Kickstarter project, please click on the link below and offer your support. Thank you.
That was good going, wasn't it, Ali? What about
That was like Terry Waite in Beirut, was it? The Chain to Radiator? That was the hostage video.
I don't think that's the way I would really like him portrayed, but nevertheless, he was. We might not actually get another show, and he was good there, wasn't he?
Yes, he did very well.
Yeah, he did very well. There you go. Seal of approval from Ali. Not too complimentary. Anyway, if you get a chance, go on our Kickstarter and see if you can help us out. Thanks to Scott, absolutely delighted. The cast is off. How far away are you from playing?
I'm going to say about 3 weeks. 2-3 weeks.
Yeah, 2 or 3 weeks. Fantastic. Well,
We'll get back in the team
I
now.
was just
We're
about
at
to
the top
say,
of the
2 or
league.
3 weeks, you're a wee bit optimistic. You've still got to fight your way back into the team.
Yep.
Yeah.
You do it at any club.
Yeah, absolutely. Or you
He's
move
just,
on.
he's just thinking, I'll be back in the team. I'll be back in the team.
Absolutely.
Well, my pal's the manager.
Yeah. Always helps. Thanks to Scott, thanks to Alison, thanks to Tam McManus, and most of all, thanks to you for watching and listening.